Hi, I'm Nasreen Amri, the founder of Carrorism.
And I'm Fonde Bridges, the Carrorist spokesperson.
Welcome to Carrorist Conversations. This is episode 14, and we're going to be talking about staying curious in the face of uncertainty.
Yeah.
So I guess just a little bit on that.
Right. Yeah.
So for example, we are in a time right now where there is a lot of uncertainty. People are wondering when their next paycheck is going to come. They're wondering if they're going to get some free time from their kid, perhaps.
Can I just, I'm going to just say that it is the only thing that, there's a lot of things that bother me, but I want to say the one thing that really has me spinning is how I feel, is the uncertainty that not just I feel, but that there is no one who can give me certainty at this time. I've never lived on the planet where there was no certainty across the board, universal. There's no one who's like, it's this.
Okay, so I'm going to challenge you on that, because what I was going to say is that we as humans are always walking with uncertainty on a daily basis.
Okay, fair enough.
And I believe that this pandemic is just really highlighting the uncertainty that we live with, but I think just for more of a protective stance, survival stance,
we believe that we are certain.
Right, that we have certainty with things like that, like safety of our job or safety of our home.
You never have to live past the second.
Right.
That's
truly, right.
I agree with
right.
that.
So, and I guess one of the things that's for me, when uncertainty arises, I tend to get either an anxiety or an anxiousness, sometimes even an adrenaline rush. Okay. And I guess one of the tips that I have is what do you do with that energy? Because it can turn negative if you just keep sitting in it and not festering and because of the unknown. So what do you do with it? I tend to channel mine into this curiosity, a childlike curiosity, and I start asking questions like how are these uncertain times benefiting me, and what can I do with this energy while I'm waiting? And focusing on my heart's desires has really helped me deal with the uncertainty, because one thing that is certain is what I want.
Yeah.
So that I can control.
Well, that's interesting that you say that, because I suspect in observing uncertainty, and let me say it again, it is the thing that has been having the most impact on me. To what degree I would say that I am fortunate because of the life purpose element, having clarity about the work that I should be doing, pandemic or no pandemic. I still must find ways to take care of what has been put before me, regardless of the pandemic. If they give me air, I will be doing the work that's been put in front of me. You know what I'm saying? To the best of my ability. So I think that is something that I always have. Right? So when the uncertainty does arrive, to your point, your desire, right? So my certainty is that my heart's desire is to continue to fulfill my life purpose.
Right.
To the best of my ability, whatever that is, hopefully I can blink it out if I can't do nothing else, just hum it out.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people who, I think they struggle and they're I don't know what my life purpose is. And that's, again, where this childlike curiosity
should activate.
Yeah, that's where you apply it. And you ask the questions and you begin to go deeper into that journey and figuring out what your life's purpose is.
I always describe our conversations, every time I see you, every time I get to talk to you, as a continuation of the original conversation. And one of the things we both began to discuss was this notion of being curious, because you we talk about a subject and you say, well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Right.
And I'd be like...
Right, and it could be something that was super challenging and be well... I'm curious to see how this is going to make me greater.
Right. All of a sudden, out of the blue, you'd be like, well, I'm curious. And so it's about really being curious in the face of uncertainty. Because it was something that you naturally you were doing on a consistent basis that allowed you to, I say, for lack of a better word, segue, but transition, move into the new element with a childlike curiosity that allows really for exploration on the planet and the life that we have to be lived.
Right.
Right. That element of getting out and seeing what's more. I actually, so with the work I've been doing lately, and I know we got a show. I know we got to do the healthy word and all that.
This is our show.
I've been really curious about how I'm being used to create. Like I feel that there is definitely a greater will influencing my creativity, and I'm as much a witness of my creativity as I am. So I am experiencing continuous curiosity as of late. So that's been interesting, just as a super side note, a personal experience with curiosity. But that thing I've been saying is the unknown, that like absolute apparent that everyone around, like normally when you talk to people, they tend to know.
Or at least
Something.
put on a facade.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm telling you, like, people will tell you, I will see you at the game at 5 p.m. And if you show up at 5:01, they're like, I told you 5. You're like, right, I know you said 5. I'm saying they spoke it, they lived it, it was clarity, it was absolute. To the point where they would be like, if you're late, I don't really deal with people who are late, right? I mean, that's such a absoluteness. So anyway.
But it is uncertain whether they're going to make it to the game or not.
Look, that's why I was late.
Yeah, right.
Because I wasn't really getting caught up in time. I thought we were meeting each other. It was about the company, not the punctuation on the time. But I'm just saying.
But yes, we're in unprecedented times where everyone globally can say that they're feeling an uncertainty.
Yeah.
Greater than ever before. Right?
For the future. The future is unknown.
Right.
And I don't recall it ever being unknown in such a drastic way without human to human conflict. That's the other thing.
Like a war, you mean?
A global war of sorts will create the kind of uncertainty that we have now.
Right.
And it just seems that there is an uncertainty that ironically impacts peace, impacts business and trade and socialization and communication and ideology and goals, and so it's just it's been an interesting thing. My curiosity is on peak.
Well, I am curious to see what the healthy word of the day is.
Wonderful transition.
Do you mind if I go for this green one right here?
Yeah, I was thinking green.
All right.
I was thinking green.
Okay. Integrity. It's one of my favorite words of all times.
Oh my goodness. Integrity. That's a noun. Integrity. The quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, moral uprightness. I always like this one. The state of being whole and undivided.
I love that too. It's like you're absolute. That's I guess what I was saying is like I'm absolute with what the desires of my heart are. That's certain.
Yeah.
So it's very similar to.
And it's honest.
Yeah.
So that honesty provides the absoluteness, which creates a lot of clarity, foundation, something concrete.
All right.
Okay.
Well, like I said, it's one of my favorite words, so I'm excited to use it today.
Beautiful, beautiful, yeah.
So, how about you go first, Vaughn?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Excellent. Here we go. I'm really touched by this selection. I based it, of course, on the quote, and then I kind of take a glance at who it is and learn more about someone that I knew a fair amount. I'm sure. Probably. I mean, it's a life, so I knew some stuff. But what I learned was more stuff, and that was great. Okay. So, born in Alabama, Her father would end up becoming the mayor of the town she was in, and her mother would be a school teacher. Both of her, all four, sorry, I was gonna say both sets of grandparents were born as slaves. So she's second generation, I think, free, and in a small African American town in Florida. Born in Alabama, but moves to this small town in Florida. She is really an anthropologist, author, filmmaker. She ends up writing more than 50 short stories, plays, and essays. She influences and impacts the Harlem Renaissance. Definitely in her time period, but then again in the excuse me, in the 70s when the Harlem Renaissance truly excuse me, truly had taken hold in the African American psyche, right? Like there was a Harlem Renaissance that occurred, and she's one of the names in it. So, just some fun facts about the anthropology. She traveled throughout the American South and the Caribbean, and she really studied and collected hundreds of African American folktales.
Oh, okay.
And the interesting thing about that is the folktales did not get published until 41 years after she passed away. And they were ironically found in someone else's, like not the person she even gave it to. It showed up in some other gentleman's papers at the Smithsonian.
Okay.
So they were just combing through his papers and found her work. And then it was published, right, recently. But it's all these hundreds of folktales from African American culture, which, I mean, that's got to be just a treasure trove. That's got to be really a gorgeous archive to play in. Just thinking about it as far as history, like no one ever shares it with you. All right. She interviewed, again, anthropology. She interviewed Cujo Casola Lewis. He is one of the final people to experience the transatlantic slave trade voyage. So he arrives in America, I believe it's 1860. It's illegal. They don't send them back to Africa. They stay, and they stay in a African-influenced community in Florida. So that's pretty interesting. And so she interviews him, and she videotapes him. She's the only person to ever videotape this final gentleman, the last person on a very tragic story. Right? I mean, I don't know if there's more. I mean, it's real life, but just in essence, the book is closed with this gentleman's life. He's the last of those who would travel known to travel. I'm sure there are still slave trades, just to be candid. So, but yeah, that's pretty powerful footage. And the work she did about this gentleman would eventually be published as well after her death, and it's a very powerful manuscript. And then there's another piece of anthropology that she did that I think and her work as a journalist in connection to this subject. The book is called Mules and Men, but it's about short stories of life for African Americans in timber camps. And a timber camp is pretty much where you process the wood and the timber and so on and so forth. But one of the things that was happening on a very consistent scale throughout the South post-slavery is that white men were impregnating black women on purpose for whatever the reasons, whatever the culture was, it was happening, and it was dismissed as like there was no voice. And so she gave voice to that anthropologic tragedy that was taking place, because it was men imposing their will, because they were no longer the slave master, but they were definitely supplying money and resources to these women, and the families would be in essence just taking advantage of them in multiple ways.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, rape is pretty much. So, her most famous book was published in 1937 to very, very poor reviews. America and the world was not ready for the book. However, it's published again in 78. The first month, or I guess at its top selling month at that period, 75,000 books sold.
Wow.
She had passed away by this point. Looking her up is one of the first times I've heard of this term, which is a literary trust. A literary trust means that you've published enough books that they generate wealth. And you publish them and they're great. People love them. She currently sells 500,000 copies annually.
Currently?
Currently, as of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's a trust.
I get it.
500,000 copies are going to sell. Yeah. Powerful, impeccable work. And ironically, she passed away penniless. And
it's weird. I often find that on so many of these brilliant minds, or inventors and so on and so forth, that ends up being the story. And I'm just like, how is that a thing? I guess it always sparks my curiosity, but I think it has something to do with they're following their heart, and they're not after financial gain necessarily.
Yeah, I would say
they're more humanitarians. Not saying that you can't have both.
It's so fascinating.
In doing my research, I run into that quite often. We're like, until his death, he was penniless.
Yeah, I will admit to absolutely staying curious on how a life is lived. How it happens, the highs and lows, ups and downs, whatever the experiences are. You know me, I kind of just rock out like I'm glad they gave me one. They gave me a life, so I'm gonna see what it does. So anyway, it's true. She dies penniless, though now she sells 500,000 copies. Right. So that's pretty fascinating. It says in a public health facility, so she ended up having a stroke, passing away. But still, her contribution is beautiful. The quote is, "Research is formalized curiosity. It's poking and prying with a purpose." And I think that's what often is lost, is that by being curious, you have birth purpose. That curiosity is what it's about. Right. That is what the purpose is, whatever that curious moment is.
Right, I guess that's what I was saying when people are like, well, I haven't found my purpose, but the curiosity is your current purpose.
It is.
The questioning.
It is.
The questioning, the constant questioning.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so her name is Zora Neale Hurston. And her top-selling book is Their Eyes Were Watching God. I think people have heard of it, and my mom loves it. I know that much for sure. Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you
for
sharing that wonderful carrorist with us. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. All right.
So I am just gonna go for this quote that I found. "The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing," and I love that. It's like what we were just talking about. That curiosity is the purpose. That is your purpose, to ask questions. And this was a quote by Albert Einstein. And I'm not really going to talk about him so much as just I really wanted to say that his mind, he truly terrorized us with his constant questioning, and his curiosity led to so many discoveries that have truly benefited humanity. Just the theory of relativity, but there's so many.
Right.
But it was his endless curiosity and going into the unknown, into the uncertainty, and I just absolutely love that.
Yeah.
Because I really believe that curiosity is a tool to transform any fear-based feelings that are associated with uncertainty, and that really is the positive psychology practice.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Curiosity and uncertainty are almost always, I don't want to say they're twins, but they dance. They're together. They're there with each other.
Yeah, they're definitely cousins.
They're cousins. They're somehow related, and
they're definitely family.
Yeah, and I, for me on a personal level, I've been working on manifesting the desires of my heart. Okay. And like I said, that's really helped given me a stabilizing force during these uncertain times, because I'm like, okay, what is certain are the desires of my heart. I wrote them down.
Right.
And these are certain, these are absolute, this is what I want. Doesn't mean that they may change over time, but and I think often we have fear in relationship to really being honest about what our desires are.
Can I throw in, I think it's in relationship to love.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in relationship to what we would love to do.
Right.
Mm-hmm. It's like when you really express what you would love to do, all of a sudden you can almost feel it, that fear is right there.
Right, the fear is right there. You're like, I really don't want to write down on this piece of paper what I truly want because I'm scared it's not going to come.
Right, yeah.
Why would I put myself out there?
Yeah, being vulnerable and really getting your heart out there.
And
to yourself even.
Yes, and so for me, really focusing on the desires of my heart, and I use the word integrity, the healthy word of the day, because really keeping that integrity intact and staying true to the desires of your heart, not like being wavery, like, oh, okay, like say you want just an amount of something, like I want 10 of these, truly I want this, but you're like, well, maybe I'm not going to get 10, so then you're kind of like, all right, I'm going to write down the desire of my heart, yeah, I'm okay with 5, really? Then all of a sudden, you're ruining the integrity. Yeah. Which ultimately this wavering or losing focus just doesn't get you there as faster to the desires of your heart. So that's currently what I'm practicing with my positive psychology. Right. Is really igniting this childlike curiosity, adding a ton of enthusiasm, and being courageous and saying, this is exactly what I want.
What's really interesting about that is, I think what's cool about kids, because of their freedom of imagination, I think they are authentic in their curiosity, and I think we, as we mature, we want to also have proper calculation and reasoning. We want to be able to get things in everyday life right. We want to be able to build a positive life and a good life. And I think something happens where we think that the authentic curiosity and that desire that we have can't still be
expressed or activated. Yeah. Well, I think because of societal programs, or I think often we want to come across as though we know. And so we're like, yeah, I know this, I'm not curious about this, but like, really, what is? And I think that's beautiful practice that we do, like in actually looking up the definitions, because you think you might know a word. I use integrity in a sentence, or I think I know it, but then you're like, oh, there are all these other applications.
Well, I think about integrity of heart, right? Wholeheartedness. So my kids play video games, and you can see, like, when you're trying to get more of whatever the power up is, you need a little more of whatever the boost is. You got to get 10 or 8 or 20 or whatever it is. You don't have enough integrity. It's not whole yet.
Gotcha.
You gotta fill it up with whatever that energy is, and I think there's an authenticity and enthusiasm with real curiosity. And again, like I said, you know, I think you do it so well. You do transition very well. It's one of the things I definitely have learned from being around you is to transition into that curiosity, because like I said, the thing that has been affecting me when I saw this topic for this show, what has been affecting me is the vast amount of uncertainty across the board.
Right.
So it's like, okay, what kind of curious is this? Okay, this is like just curiosity.
Right.
Right. It's like not even.
Well, and I think what helps frame that for me is once I changed my mind to this absolute knowing that this is a listening, loving universe.
Okay.
And it's working for me. It's working for humanity. It's working for us to grow and to become the best versions of ourselves. And so having that as my absolute, I instantly and easily can transition into curiosity. Because the next question is, well, okay, this may be really challenging and uncomfortable and uncertain and whatever else, but because I know this is all for my benefit, it's working towards my growth, then I can easily transition and be like, okay, well, I'm curious to see how this is benefiting me, because this is really challenging or painful right now. I kind of don't get it, but
yeah, right.
You know, I'm super curious, and I hope the answer comes very soon. Well,
you were about to share, I think we went on a bit, but were you about to share a quote by Einstein?
No, I did already. I did.
Oh, I missed it?
Yeah, no, yeah. Oh, well, I said the important thing is not to stop questioning.
Oh, okay.
Curiosity has its own reason for existing.
That is Einstein.
Yeah, that was the Einstein quote.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't mine,
it.
but maybe I said it as though it sounded like it was
No,
mine.
not at all. You said the quote, and I think in all the conversation,
Yeah.
I didn't recognize that was actually connected to Einstein.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Well, thank you very much. I'm really excited that we highlighted these two carrorists, because they truly showcased how curiosity and applying the questioning and the curiosity in the face of uncertainty can really benefit not only themselves but all of us.
All right, so you ready for the question of the day?
I am. Yep.
All right, question of the day is, do you practice a certain type of meditation?
Oh, well, that's cool. That's a good question. No, I do not. Although I've tried quite a few different methods. Like my dad's a Sufi Muslim, for example, so
Okay.
I've attended some of their classes and
Right.
done some hymns and different forms of meditation there, and I've sat in on some like Eastern meditation, working on chakra work and so on and so forth. And I do like to study different types of meditation, but personally for me, I kind of just do my own. I really do my own form. Yeah. My own, and it does require me to sit down, sometimes cross-legged, but sometimes just in a chair and closing my eyes and going into a deep focus. Sometimes I use music, but not always.
Incense?
No, never really used incense, although having a pleasant smelling atmosphere
Candles, maybe?
definitely helps.
I think you use candles, right?
Yeah, yep. Sometimes use candles, so I don't always have a set way that I meditate, but I do make sure that I practice meditation at least once a day, if not
Indoor,
more.
outdoor?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, do both. Like today, I went for a long meditative walk, and in that
You can meditate and walk. I'm just curious, is it a thing? Okay, all right.
And that was really about focusing my mind.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I like that.
So a mind meditation.
I feel like that, a conscious meditation.
Yeah.
Where you're really focusing on one thing.
Right.
I feel like that, if that's meditation, then I feel like I do that. I don't always lay down and close my eyes and let nothingness exist, but
I think there's so many forms of meditation that aren't really talked about. Like, for example, like my stepmom Zara, she is a seamstress, and when she really gets into it, I've watched her. She's just in this intense focus, and that is a form of meditation, especially when she's creating something new. Like when she's creating her own patterns. It's just really beautiful to watch. And or like
That's
people who enjoy cooking.
My mother is an artist, so.
Right, so painting, form of meditation.
She said that was initially, when she was younger, that was the only joy.
Yeah, actually, my dad, he's an artist as well, and he mentioned that when he paints, he really feels free.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. All right.
So, yeah. How about you, Fonde?
Well, I would say that so throughout my life I've done various things.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, the thing that I've done the longest is I will take an idea and just spend as much quality time energetically, spiritually there,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that feels like a meditation to me, especially if I can get in the shower and the hot water can hit me at the base of the neck, right below my
Nice.
head.
Okay. Right.
Like if I can get, maybe I don't know, maybe something happened
Yeah.
when I was watching The Matrix. I don't know, but I just feel like that's not a bad spot right back there. If the water hits me there, I can really trance out on that idea for a second.
Nice.
To be specific.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, however you choose to meditate and carrorize
Thanks.
yourself is
Yeah.
absolutely
Can't really
up to you.
get that
Right.
going for walks, but not yet. I haven't invented that yet.
Well, thank you very much. And remember,
Thank you. Please be kind to yourself and everyone else.
and keep on carrorizing. Thank you.
Goodbye.